Welcome, everyone. We are going to do another short today. It's going to be real fun. So, I'm one of your hosts, Billy.
And I am Robert.
Yes, so today we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories. Now, I don't know too much about them, but Rob is our residential expert on these. So, he's going to give us a few, maybe one or two, I don't know, and we'll talk about them. We'll get my opinion, and I'd love to hear all of your opinions down in the comments. So, what's the first one you got for us today?
So I will just want to say a couple of things. One, this topic was recommended to me by my friend Madeline. She thought that it would be a good idea for us to do our favorite conspiracy theory or talking about conspiracy theories. Because a lot of people know me, at least on my social media, as being able to explain certain things and kind of elaborate on them to kind of get the facts about things rather than being like, you know, subjective versus objective. I'm not going to go for conspiracy theory and say, oh, this is true. I'm going to be like, I'm skeptical about this kind of stuff. I'm a very big skeptical guy. So
Mhm. Well, you,
don't
you,
want to
you
be
are
kind of
studying
labeled
physics.
as being like the expert of conspiracy theories all that much, being that like, I'm not like engaged in all of the weird stuff. But no, I'm a scientist first and foremost. And I
Yeah.
have to be a little more skeptical about things. So
hmm Yeah. Well, I mean, you study physics in college, senior year,
yeah,
just about to graduate, almost there. So makes
yes,
sense. I feel like science
yeah.
people really enjoy conspiracy theories just because they introduce a lot of interesting thought points that you wouldn't necessarily come up with.
Interesting in a turn of phrase like that was interesting, but nothing that you'd want to kind of say that's true, you know?
So are these ones
Like,
that you know aren't true or you think aren't true, but you just think they're
oh,
funny?
all these I know are not true.
Okay.
They're not true conspiracies. They are conspiracy theories by the literal definition that it's a theory that someone brings up a conspiracy about a topic, but in fact, the theory is false
Okay.
just by objective fact and truth. So let's just put that out there.
Okay.
We do not endorse these conspiracy theories. We do not think of these as true. I don't think it's true. Billy doesn't think it's true unless he does. He
I
has not
haven't
heard
heard them
these yet.
yet, so we'll see.
But I just want to say that I definitely don't endorse these things. Most of the things that I have read about make me laugh so much
Well, that
because they're
I,
just funny.
one of my favorite shows to watch before, and by favorite I just mean I watched it every once in a while when it was on TV, and I would only watch it when like a friend would come over. But it was
Mhm.
Ancient Aliens.
Oh my god!
That show, whenever it came on, I would sit down and it was a good time. It was hilarious. My favorite
I watched
theory,
that show too
my favorite
when I was
theory,
younger, not when I was older.
I watched it in high school, I think. So it was like perfect because it was right when
Yeah.
I started taking like my physics classes in high school. So I was like really like getting into the science and stuff. It was
Hmm.
just great timing. But
Yeah.
my favorite one is bugs are ancient alien spy devices. And that's why we're evolved to be afraid of them. That one's my favorite one. Oh, that one's such a good one. That's why they have
I've
funny
never heard
eyes
that
too,
one.
because they're cameras.
Yeah.
That one's so great.
Oh my god. That's
Okay.
good. I've never heard that one before. But I have watched Ancient Aliens. I know a few of my friends, I will not name names, but I know a few of my friends do watch it. Shout out to them. I know they're gonna try and watch this. I'll show the video.
Mhm.
But
Hello, friends.
yeah, obviously it's a kook kind of thing. It's just so the thing about Ancient Aliens that kind of basically pisses me off is like cable TV has become so like mainstream in the form that they want to attract audiences rather than educate them. So like the History Channel doesn't really teach about history. The
No.
Science Channel is starting to go away from teaching science. The Discovery Channel don't even go there. It used to be something good, but not anymore. Um, Not a lot of reliable cable TV programs anymore, except for like on PBS. So it's an unfortunate thing. Now Ancient Aliens has kind of infiltrated and infected it a little bit. Um, but it does make me laugh to see those kind of things as well. The ancient astronaut theory is for an astrophysics person like myself, it's just It's something.
I love the job title though that you bring it up. Ancient
Yeah.
astronaut theorist. That's like the greatest job title in the world, right there.
Is it though? Do you really want to be associated with that?
Well, I mean, like it's like the most res- it's the most scientific way to say like person who thinks or I don't even know how to put it because I do kind of believe in aliens, so I can't really say person who believes in
Oh
aliens.
my God, you believe in aliens, Billy?
I mean, the statistics and the probabilities say that they're definitely out there. Whether or not they've come here or not is a different question, but I definitely think just law of, like just law of large numbers, they're probably out there somewhere.
Wow, he actually
That also doesn't mean that
blew my
they're
mind today. I
that
did
doesn't
not know
mean that
this.
they're intelligent life. They could be just like different forms of bacteria up there.
No, I get
Right?
that.
So like just statistics say that there's probably aliens up there and yeah, I think I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay. I
intelligent
mean,
life is here, you know.
I'm completely on the other side of the coin when I don't believe in aliens because of the math and because of the evidence has not shown that there are aliens. I'm not going to say objectively that there is no possibility, but I'm not going to say with my whole heart that I believe in aliens because there's just no evidence for it. You know, I
Yeah.
need objective fact and evidence in order to make it true.
Mhm.
Um, because I know about the Drake equation, but I've also taken an exoplanets class where we talked about the evolution and formation of star uh, systems and planets, and being able to know the right conditions. And there are not only the conditions in the Drake equation that need to be met, but like hundreds of other conditions need to be met for a planet to be suitable for life.
Yeah.
So I know that like the law of large numbers definitely does allow for there to be a possibility. But
Mhm.
right now, I cannot say with my whole heart as a scientific person to say, yes, there are aliens. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say there is no possibility. I'm just going to say, not right now. No,
Mhm.
no evidence for it.
I will say I don't. I'm not saying that there are. I'm just saying some statistics say that there is. It's kind of like saying like if you play the lottery and I buy a lottery ticket without even like looking at it, just saying like either I lost or I won. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're right either way. It's just is luck on your side or numbers on your side. Most likely
Yeah.
you'd be right if you said I didn't win because it's one in like a million or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's cool.
Oh,
It's
that's good.
interesting to talk about.
We haven't even gotten into the stuff we're talking about. We're already starting to get into deep dive facts that I didn't
Oh
even
yeah.
know about Billy until just now.
Oh yeah.
This is great.
Maybe you'll learn something else about me tonight.
Oh my God. Just imagine you actually like, I believe in that. I can't believe it. I'd be
The
like,
Guardians of the
Billy, you need
Galaxy
to
are out there. Are
talk.
you kidding me? Right? In Star Wars and all that stuff.
I guess.
You call yourself a Star Trek fan.
I am. That means I am a believer in science fiction as being cool.
Touche. Um, but really quick, just to go back to the
Yeah.
History Channel and how they don't talk about history anymore. There was this
Yeah.
really funny TV show I used to watch called Gravity Falls, and
Mm,
in one of the episodes, one of the characters is watching TV, and they have a spoof on the History Channel,
mm,
and he's watching. I think they call it Ghost Harassers, and the commercial that comes up is like, "We'll be right back to Ghost Harassers on the used to be about History Channel or something like that." And I was like, "Oh, that's so true." Because the History Channel isn't about history. They used to be about History Channel.
mm.
I don't know. We should cut that part out.
Um, Also, to build on that before I get into the main stuff, I don't know if you've seen the South Park episode where they had like the ghost hunters crew come in. Oh
Oh, you
my
showed
God,
it to
it's so
me.
funny. Did I show it to you? I
Someone showed it to
did.
me in the physics
I
lounge.
think
It
I
was you,
was.
right?
I think it was me. Yeah, it
Okay.
was me. It's like they come into the house and like, they're like, what is that? What is that? It's like, I think that is their television. And it's like, what is that? Why is that wetness coming from my pants? And they're peeing
Oh my.
themselves.
I
I
remember
mean,
that. Oh
that's
my
also
god.
true that they go after every single bump and noise that they hear as being a ghost. It's so funny.
Hmm. Uh, good times
But we're
back
not
then.
here to talk about ghosts today. Ghosts are not conspiracy theories. They're just not true.
Yeah, I don't want to test fate, so I'm not gonna comment.
It's gonna influence job applicants are gonna be like, does he believe or not?
Yeah, right. Uh,
No,
okay.
this is all in good fun, guys. Don't worry about it. And besides, I
Yeah,
already said that I don't believe in any of these, so I'm cleared.
yeah,
Billy
you're
is
clear.
not.
Well, let's see if there's gonna be any disagreements on this.
Okay, so
Okay.
I am going from this book, Conspiracies Declassified by Brian Dunnings. My belief about conspiracy books or anything about UFOs or anything is that it has to come about from a scientist who can be able to explain away all the things that you hear about with any kind of conspiracy theory or UFO or ghosts or anything like that. This is the exception that I bought this book not having this be a scientist or an expert in a particular field. But I just felt like, just it was a fun read for me to go through it and, enjoy it. And of course, this guy doesn't go like, oh, there's a possibility of this. Like, no, it's not. It's like he's clear cut, objective truth, kind of like how I am. So I felt like it was a necessary thing. So that's just a rule of thumb that I have when I pick out books.
Hmm. That's a good rule of thumb. I mean, yeah, always check your author, your
Yeah.
source, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I check my authors all the time before I read a book. So,
Hmm. Now the question is, are
all
we
right.
reputable enough for our listeners to pay attention to us?
Well, let's see. You and I are both gonna. Well, I don't have it yet, but you have a bachelor's degree in physics. I'll have
Ooh.
a bachelor's degree in physics.
Mhm.
You have expertise in quantum mechanics and quantum physics. I think a little bit more than I do.
Expertise. I
Yeah, and
That
I
was
and
my
I
focus
my
in undergrad.
yeah my focus in graduate. My focus in undergrad was astrophysics and space physics. So
Yeah, we complement each other.
yes,
Right.
we don't have the same background exactly, but we have similar backgrounds.
Exactly. Okay. I want to
So
hear these, so
we're
let's get into this.
reputable.
Yeah.
We're reputable people. Don't worry
we're
about it.
we're decently reputable. We're not like
Decently.
PhDs in physics, but we're not just
We're not Joe
we have a
Schmoes
scientific
out
background.
there saying like we're experts in science.
Yeah. Okay. I want to hear these, so let's get started.
All right, so let's see. Okay, this one's definitely one I need to talk about. All right. So, have you heard of the reptilian alien theory?
At least not by name.
The reptoids, reptilians,
I don't think
that
so.
kind of thing?
Not that I
All
can
right.
think of.
So the gist of the theory, I'm not going to read verbatim the paragraph that they have for the theory, but basically they say that most famous people and influential people in the world are not humans. They are this ancient reptilian race that has come from Earth and invaded Earth and has taken the form of these very powerful individuals. So actors, politicians, singers, scientists, stuff like that. And their like ultimate goal is to basically take over the world. Brain just got fried.
I mean, where do I begin? um, okay, so I have a question, I guess. Um,
Okay.
is this these people were real people and then they switched them out? Kind of like in spoiler alert at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, you find out Nick Fury was
It's a
actually,
scroll.
yeah. Is it like that where they switch them out and they were real
Mm.
people, but they switch them out? Or is it just like they just make new people?
So these are original people that are being made. So the person
Okay.
who was Barack Obama, was actually a reptiloid that like grew up as a human being Barack Obama, and he became the president of the United States. And this is just a reptilian person.
Okay.
So the entire existence of one person has always been a reptilian,
Okay.
basically.
So no clones.
No clones, no. They were not switched out.
Okay.
It's not like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say. I mean, I've never heard of this thing before. I'm not sure
Oh,
if it's
really?
popular or not. Yeah, is it popular?
It's kind of popular. It's out there on the internet.
Um, I mean, what inspires people to come up with this?
Well, the backstory is that like there were back in like the early 20th century there was like a mining company that was being formed by this guy who had found all these trenches underneath like the Orange County area where Los Angeles is. He found all these tunnels that could lead to like gold because this was during like the end of the gold rush kind of.
Mhm.
Um, he was trying to find all these tunnels where there's gold and stuff, and he said that he had all these maps and everything, and then he found out that like the maps of these tunnels were actually from these reptilian aliens from the Native American uh, mythology that he had discovered that these tunnels were made from. And he had like a map and everything of all these tunnels, and basically that's how it kind of got started. Um,
Interesting.
the real facts about that is that like he completely made up the tunnel system that he had discovered. He did not discover any tunnel system. He made up the whole tunnel system. He made up his name. He made up um, the reptilian Native American mythology. There was no such thing in a Native American mythology. So the entire thing was just based on that, which is completely false. Um, so that's how it kind of got started, and obviously like the advent of the internet and people on the internet thinking kind of like in a hive mind kind of start going like, oh, this may be possible, because the other origin is from like later on when like VHS tapes were being developed, and if you pause like a tape really quickly, you could see like the deformed face of someone like if you pause a tape really quickly. um but obviously it's just like an artifact of like the tape having to pause in between two frames, and that's why like the faces look different and stuff. So that's how people started to come up with that form of the conspiracy theory, because they would see alterations in people's faces and bodies and be like, why does that look so weird? It must be something in like about them that's making them look like that. They must be of an alien race that's reptilioid, and we had this originally from the early 20th century, so it must make sense, that kind of thing.
I don't even know what to say on this one. This one took me like I thought they were gonna be like, um, I don't know, aliens are living on the moon or something like that, or like, no, this was
Yeah,
like
this is just out there.
full force. Like, whoa,
Just going off the beaten path.
yeah. Well, I don't even know what to say about this. I'm at a loss for words.
See, it makes you laugh. It makes you laugh to hear
Oh
some of
my
these
god.
stupid things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disrespect anyone who might believe in this. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but for me,
Mm.
this is a little too out there.
It's just a little too much.
A little too much. Like,
Yeah.
because it doesn't
He
seem
can,
like it's grounded in anything. Like,
no.
yeah,
He can believe in aliens, but not believe that aliens are taking over the world by being these prominent people in society.
yeah, two completely different. Like,
Ideologies.
yeah. Oh my god, it's like saying I
So you
like
ready
peanut
for
butter
another one?
sandwiches, but peanut butter sandwiches are the only sandwich you can ever eat, or something like that. That's a terrible analogy. Where'd that come from?
That's bad, yeah. Let's move on to another one, shall we?
Yeah, that one just. Oh my god. Okay.
All right. Have you ever heard of the water fluoridation theory? So fluoride in your water?
I've heard of. I know what fluoride is. And I know what water
Yes.
is, but I haven't heard the theory of
Yes.
fluoride in the water. No.
Okay.
Okay, I'm interested. This one
Um,
seems like it's possibly grounded more in science, or am I completely wrong?
it's not entirely ever in science whatsoever. It's
Okay.
not grounded in any kind of science,
Okay.
obviously. So I will read you the paragraph because it's pretty short. And obviously we can edit anything out if we wanted to.
Mhm.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
So this theory claims that the government adds fluoride to our water to harm us everywhere you look. Some say fluoride is a dangerous neurotoxin, and the government wants us to give us all brain damage so we can be easily controlled. Some say fluoride is a poison, and the government wants to kill us as part of some mass eugenics or population control scheme. Others believe the government just wants us to make us generally sick, so that we will have to purchase more pharmaceutical drugs. About the only thing that they agree on is their belief that the government's official story about the adding of fluoride in to prevent tooth decay is just a cover up. As final evidence that fluoridation is a nefarious project of the US government, activists point out that many European nations chose not to fluoridate their water at all.
Hmm. I shouldn't be drinking this right now.
No, that's not tap water. So they're talking
Oh,
about tap water here in this
okay.
instance. It's basically just to get rid of the cavities in your teeth, help you have strong bones because you have fluoride in your toothpaste,
Yeah.
basically.
Mhm.
And you use fluoride because it helps to reduce tooth decay, enables you to have stronger teeth and everything. Um, so uh, there is a medical condition that happens when like you have too much fluoride in your system. So too much of anything is bad for you, and too much of absorbing any kind of fluoride is bad for you. You know, it does affect your bones and the calcium in your bones and stuff. Um, but people believe that like they're adding fluoride as this chemical to alter our brains. And usually these kind of theories have no ground in science because it's a very basic misunderstanding about science and how the human body works. It's kind of the same thing with anti-vaxxers. People don't understand what vaccines do to your body.
Hmm.
And because of that, people think that like there's something going on that's fishy about them because it's a misunderstanding of how science works. And it's a flaw of the society that we live in that, you know, we're not doing as well to teach science as we should.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like the flaw in that. And that's why theories like this come about, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I yeah, I get that. I do think it's hard sometimes, because like you hear something, especially like in the tabloids and stuff, they'll like
Mm-hmm.
swing it to like sway you to do something. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
reading that. So I read this book last week. I think it's Think Again by Adam Grant, and
Mm-hmm.
in it he was talking about there's this one article, this one study, just one study. I think out of Harvard, I believe, that talks about drinking coffee and its health benefits at slash deficits. And then there's two articles written on it as like a review of it, kind of. And
Mm-hmm.
these were for like popular magazines and stuff, not like popular science and stuff like that, just like other things, not
Mm-hmm.
scientific journals.
Like
And
Time magazine or like something like that.
something like that. I'm not sure if it was Time, but something along the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was like, an extra cup of coffee could kill you. The other one was like, you should drink coffee every day because it will prolong your life. Two titles kind of like that from the same scientific research. So like you
Mm-hmm.
can get anything you want from it. And the idea
Mm-hmm.
was in the science journal, I think I didn't read it, but at least what I got from the book was that one cup of coffee every day is healthy. But if you drink any more than one cup or any less than one cup, then it becomes bad for you. Not bad for you, but not as good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see both headlines in it where drink a cup of coffee every day and it's good, but any more, any less than it's not so good. And I think it's kind of like that
Mm-hmm.
with like maybe this or anything else for the most part. Like people, I think have a right to be a little afraid if they're not sure a where to go for the right information and
Hmm.
b what the right information is. You know, so
Yeah.
I can see how things like this would start.
Also, to build on that, like I've seen, I don't know, have you watched Last Week Tonight with John Oliver?
I think I've heard of it, like in commercials, but I've never seen it.
So he has done an episode on like scientific studies and has shown that like there's always pressure from universities and research groups to get scientists to publish as much as possible because that's how you get paid basically is by the studies that you perform.
Hmm.
And they'll obviously want to do as much as they can in order to keep their pay up and they can be still at the university and stuff. So they'll obviously make a study and they'll try and fudge the numbers to make it seem interesting so that way they can get published into a journal or something and make it sound significant. And a lot of times like this system has made people feel like with the thing with the coffee, like people don't understand the health benefits and deficits when it comes to coffee because there's so many studies that say this thing and that thing and this idea and this idea, and it's
Yeah,
because so many scientists are trying to get as much as possible studied and published so that way they can keep their jobs basically.
yeah,
And it's that kind of thing that like reminds me like scientific studies, at least for that kind of stuff, like stuff for like health or like things like that, those kind of things get fudged a little bit. I don't think physics papers or anything like that get fudged because I think that's more rigorous, that gets into more important journals and stuff. Um,
yeah. I mean,
Obviously, I'm not sure. I've never been in like the business of it. So,
yeah. I mean, I think I remember the professor I worked for mentioning. I think it was a problem with physics at some point, where
mm-hmm,
sometimes they would like misinterpret the numbers or they would interpret it in a certain way so that way they
mm-hmm,
could possibly maybe get funding for something else. I'm not quite sure if I'm right, but I remember her saying something about it, and that's the only
mm-hmm,
thing I can think of. The reason why you mess with numbers is so that way you can continue your research because there's not really
right,
like an end game in physics. It's not like oh, this paper was a success, they're going to keep me on. It's like, ooh, this
mm-hmm,
paper opened
right,
another question, so I have to stay here to do that research thing. But
mm-hmm,
I'm sure it's a problem in physics. I mean, unfortunately, I think it's probably going to be a problem with most things,
yeah,
unfortunately. But I do think the health researchers out there are at a slight disadvantage. Okay, major
mm-hmm,
disadvantage, but
yes,
um, because with health and stuff, there's so many other factors. Like I didn't read the
mm-hmm,
coffee study, but like just looking at that one thing, just coffee each day, how were their sleeping habits? How were their rest of their eating habits? Did they work out? Did they were they born with like uh, certain medical problems that they had beforehand? When did they start
mm-hmm,
drinking coffee? How long did they drink coffee one day? Was it espresso? Was it like um, extra sugar and caffeine?
mm-hmm,
Caffeine, sugar and cream.
right,
Like there's so many other things that they have to worry about that it's really hard to
mm-hmm,
pull anything from it, which is why like nutrition things are like cholesterol bad for you. Don't eat so many eggs. Like I remember one of our good friends, Joko, in college, we did this push-up contest, and I was saying how like eggs are a great source of protein, and he was
mm-hmm,
eating a ton of eggs, and then like a month or two later, I think it was, sometime later, I read that you shouldn't eat eggs every day because it's a lot of cholesterol, and that's not good for you. And then like a
mm-hmm,
year later, I saw this other paper that was like, the cholesterol that you get from eggs, even if you eat it every day, isn't that bad for you at all. It's actually good for you. So then it's like it's very hard to know which one to trust, especially with
right,
health, because there's just so many things that you can't control. And I think
mm-hmm,
that's why physics is at, or sciences like physics are at like an advantage in a sense because you control for all those variables. Like if you're looking
right,
at an electron spin, you can isolate it as much as you want. I mean,
mm-hmm,
within reason. I mean, we have technology limits, but like you can do
Right.
it this one way, then you can be like, okay, well, this might have interference from this, or things that we actually aren't sure about. So let's isolate it another way, and let's look at it over here. Does it behave the same? No, it doesn't. Well, then there's something different about these, and it's a
Mhm.
lot easier to have a control and have the what you're testing, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
my soapbox rant.
It'll probably be the longest you talk on these
on the
subjects.
on the I think that's probably the longest I've talked on these podcasts.
No, you probably talk this long.
I probably have. Um,
But yeah, I totally agree with everything that you said.
whew,
Totally agree.
thank you.
Yeah. So in that case, shall we move on to another conspiracy theory?
Yeah, these are fun.
I know, right? Um, so you've heard of things like the flat Earth theory and the hollow Earth theory, right?
Yes, I've heard of the. I think almost everyone's heard of the flat Earth theory.
Yeah.
I hope. Oh, not I hope, but I think. The hollow Earth
Hmm.
theory I think is less well known, but I think we talked about it like a week ago, didn't we?
Yeah. We talked about it because of Godzilla versus Kong. I
That's right.
watched it and they had the hollow Earth theory in the movie. So spoiler alert. Too late, unfortunately. This one's fun uh, for me because I'm an astrophysics leaning towards that in my expertise. So it
Yeah.
was very fun to read this. Not really well known. I can't find any other books, at least that I have, about this theory. And I think you understand, you as a physics major will totally understand what's wrong with this theory once I say it.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now. Okay.
Yes, you'll definitely get it. Okay, you have a good grasp of a lot of things in physics. All right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So
Okay. Shoot.
let's go into the Lucifer project.
I'm not sure how
Sounds
this is
very.
gonna connect to. Okay, let's go.
It's not going to connect to the devil whatsoever, but let's get to it.
Okay.
So the theory says that large gas giant planets like Jupiter are sometimes called failed stars. They contain all the elements necessary to undergo fusion and become stars, but they lack the sufficient mass to collapse under their own gravity and produce sufficient pressure and heat to ignite the process. Hypothetically, if we could somehow make it happen, having a second star in our outer solar system might turn some of the larger moons of Saturn and Jupiter into habitable worlds. That's just the first paragraph. Despite those pesky laws of physics, there is a group of believers who say that NASA
Sorry.
has
Despite those pesky laws. Okay, I like that sentence.
the pesky laws.
Oh my god. Okay.
There's a group of believers who say that NASA has already attempted to do this at least twice and may do so again. These alleged previous attempts were the Galileo probe, which crashed into Jupiter in 2003, and the Cassini probe, which crashed into Saturn in 2017. Both probes were powered by RTGs, radioisotope thermoelectric generators, which contain plutonium. Believers say that plutonium can cause a thermonuclear reaction inside the gas giants, and that should initiate a chain reaction to turn them into stars. Theorists haven't given any particular reason NASA might have done this, other than the fanciful notion that it might be fun to have some other warm planetoids in the outer solar system.
I played the fifth. There's
All
just
right, so like
there's so much going into that. Like
so he goes into an explanation in the book, but as an astrophysics person, I can give you my explanation because at least I've taken astrophysics, I've taken exoplanets, I've taken introduction to space physics. My capstone was on space physics and the sun itself. Um, so I have a very good understanding. Not expertise level, but a very good understanding, close enough to say that I have confidence in my answer.
Yeah. Let me hear you, and I'll tell you if you're wrong.
Yes, grade me on my performance.
Okay.
Um, so the fusion in a star happens with millions, probably even billions of hydrogen atoms without their electrons, obviously, the protons.
Yep.
And they fuse together to create helium, you know.
Hmm.
Um, Now, it has to be a lot of hydrostatic equilibrium for there to be a large amount of gravity involved, a large amount of mass for there to be a lot of gravity
I'm going
in
to
order
hold
for
you right
there.
there.
Okay.
For our viewers, what's hydrostatic equilibrium?
Well, that's what I was getting into.
Okay, I jumped the gun.
You just rudely interrupted.
Take two. Okay.
All right. So there's a lot of hydrostatic equilibrium in the sun, which means that there's a lot of mass that has been collected since the early formation of the solar system. Um, because of all the dust particles of all the elements that have concentrated in this one area. And there's so much mass there that there's a lot of gravity. But of course, that gravity causes something to become a sphere. That's what hydrostatic equilibrium is where the gravity force has to equal the amount of pressure for any object to maintain its shape, basically.
Yep.
So that also requires a lot of energy. E equals mc squared, obviously from Einstein's theory of relativity. We know that. The energy generated by the sun is probably, this is not a number that I absolutely know, but I'm going to go into the estimates of like millions of joules, millions of units of energy.
Yeah. Well, what can I'm gonna ask you a quick question. Which form of energy are we talking about?
Yeah.
Chemical energy or thermal energy?
Well, there's so many forms of energy, right? There's thermal energy, there's
Mass
lots of
energy.
electromagnetic energy in the forms of X-rays, in the form of ultraviolet, in the form of visible light. So
Yeah.
there's so many forms of energy that are being given off. But let's stick to thermal in this case.
Yeah.
Make it
I'm actually
basic,
interested. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. So there's a lot of energy that gets put out by the sun at any given moment. That's why even though 93 million miles away from the sun, we still feel heat on our skin because there's so much energy being generated towards us by the sun. The thought that a small plutonium core, and this actually does happen a lot in NASA's spacecraft, in that, like, also on the Mars rovers and stuff, they have nuclear power on there to not only power these satellites and these rovers and stuff, but also make sure it doesn't freeze because this energy does require a lot of heat to be generated from it. And it allows it to be warm so that way in the conditions of being out in space, you don't have any of the electronic equipment freeze or anything. So it's very beneficial to have these nuclear reactors on these uh, devices. So if, for example, you have a plutonium explosion like you would see on Earth from a fission explosion, right? That amount of energy is not even close to being comparable to the amount of energy that the sun produces.
Mhm.
And if one explosion from a plutonium device would allow for an entire planet to become a protostar, basically, then the Earth would have done it already, you know? And it also lacks the scale because remember that Earth is big in our perception, and we've detonated a lot of nuclear explosions in, on, and outside of the Earth, you know? Um, so the Earth would have been able to have generated this type of energy if it could have done this already, but it obviously can't because that defies the laws of physics. Energy
Mhm.
cannot be created spontaneously from nothing. And energy gets lost pretty quickly in a thermonuclear explosion when you have the initial explosion, the heat generated from it, and the shock wave, but then it dissipates out pretty quickly as you expand the bubble out from when the initial explosion happened. And even in something like a gas giant with all the elements that were there, you know, Jupiter, if you have the Earth comparable to Jupiter, like the Earth can fit in Jupiter's red dot, the big red spot on Jupiter,
100 times,
like
right?
probably like 20 or 30 times in
Wanna
that
look that
one
up?
space. Go ahead, look it up. But that's my estimate. It's like 20 or 30 Earths can fit
I,
in
I thought it
the
was
great
100.
red spot. I don't know. That I don't know. I'm not going to be specific on numbers, just to let you know. But it's a very large number.
Dang it. You're closer. It's 11.
Oh, it's 11? Okay. But
Wait, wait.
still, like I was.
Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system at nearly 11 times the size of Earth and 317 times its mass.
Okay, so maybe it's closer to like 5 or 6. I don't know. Either way, there's a lot of Earths that can be fitting in one storm on Earth on the planet Jupiter.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. So Jupiter is large. That's my main point. Jupiter is so big.
Jupiter's very big.
Um, so one tiny small nuclear explosion will not just go like click and it will ignite the entirety of the planet. And even if something like that were to happen, it would not become a star. It would, in this hypothetical sequence, become a brown dwarf. You know what a brown dwarf is?
I do. It's like the thing before. It's like there's different classifications for different types of stars and stuff. This is like
Mhm.
before stars start,
Yeah.
right?
It has such a cool temperature that it actually cannot be like observed very well except for its thermal and other electromagnetic radiation types
Low,
of energy
low
because it's not
energy.
visible enough.
Yeah, low energy radiation, right?
Yeah. So that's what it would probably become if in any possible way that this thermonuclear explosion would be able to make the whole of the gas giant of Jupiter or Saturn ignite. But it can't because that's just physically impossible to do.
Well, if it weren't for those pesky laws of physics, could it happen?
Well, pesky laws of physics, well, anything is possible if you can just say laws of physics are out the door, you know?
I love that sentence so much.
There is one thing that I love is that like the laws of physics are always there no matter what period of time you're in. So I remember there was this question that someone asked on a podcast that was like, did static electricity exist during like the Middle Ages? And
Wait,
it's
someone
like,
asked this on our
yes.
podcast?
No, 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 on another podcast that I was like listening to.
I was gonna say we haven't talked any science yet, and
No.
I,
Um,
I didn't notice.
so does static electricity exist before we've had like static electricity here? It's like, yeah, it's been consistently happening for
Mhm,
thousands of years because the laws of physics do not change because your perception of it does change. You know what I'm saying?
mhm. There's
So,
actually a really quick side note on that. There's this really interesting theory of physics, and it's very well, it's unsettling for I guess a physics person
mhm,
potentially that the laws of physics um, evolve throughout time, like very slowly. Like the strength, like the G constant in Newton's law of gravitation, and also Einstein's general relativity, is a function
mhm,
of time. It's just that like it's such a its change is so small that we don't really notice it, and
mhm,
we won't for a long time, basically. But it's interesting because it basically says, well, the laws of physics have been gradually changing since like the beginning of time, and they're changing right now, but we can't like there's no way as of right now to be able to tell because our system like we have very very accurate equipment now, but 100
mhm.
years ago we didn't have as accurate equipment, so we don't even like have like a full 100-year gap where we can try and tell a difference. And
Right.
it's just an interesting theory.
Yeah.
I mean, the only place I would correct you is you said energy cannot be created out of nothing, but we got vacuum fluctuations. which spontaneously create energy and then destroy it, but in such a small time range that it doesn't break the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So energy is kind of created and
Okay. See,
destroyed,
I'm not
but
familiar with this because
oh,
I'm just
really?
going based on the second law of thermodynamics on this. So
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
Well, the idea is that like so delta E times delta E is less than or equal to h bar over 2 or something like that. Um,
Yes.
so if you create some energy delta E in a certain amount, and you have delta T small enough that it's less than h bar over 2, then it's still allowed in the laws of physics. So you can create energy and then destroy it. It just has to be like so fast that it doesn't break that uncertainty principle. And if it doesn't break that
Hmm.
uncertainty principle, then it doesn't violate the law of conservation of energy either, because it's still within uncertainties, which
Hmm.
is really cool.
Yeah. I will put a little asterisk, a footnote here, in saying that quantum mechanical theory is very uncertain because, like, obviously the world of the quantum is so unknown and unknowable. We can only theorize what we can be able to see from like measurements and stuff. So like, yeah, it's cool and I get it, but like that's an instantaneous quantum mechanical amount of energy that like it's not applicable on the macro scale, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure because I mean, the application side of quantum mechanics is still really, really advanced, but
Mm,
I do think like this part of the theory is really fundamental to like modern day working with quantum mechanics. Like,
yeah.
it's very, very fundamental to the theory that we currently use.
Hmm.
But I don't think there's like, don't, I mean, we never know. But like, as far as I know, there's no like practical exploitation of this.
Right. Yeah, until
That's
we have a grand unified theory, can't be able to say that the quantum and the macroscopic world can be able to have a convergence on the same theory, you know?
well, it's so interesting. I mean, we're going down the rabbit hole right now, but one of the things I find really interesting is that so we have four, at least for me, we're going to talk about four general theories right now. So we got quantum
Okay.
mechanics, and we have certain mathematical framework for quantum mechanics.
Hmm.
Um, do I want to get no? Okay, I used a fancy word. So we got Hamiltonians and energy and stuff like that. Hamiltonian's a
Yep.
fancy word for energy for now. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so we got quantum mechanics, and we have like we work with Hamiltonians to describe quantum mechanics,
Hmm.
and then we can do some approximations on the math, like on size and stuff like that, and continuousness, and then we can get to classical physics, like it just kind of pops out. So classical
Hmm.
physics, just like normal physics every day, just pops out of the theory, which is really cool,
Right.
because then we can show that there's a progression from quantum mechanics to like everyday physics, and then
Hmm.
from everyday physics, or let me go the opposite end. So then we have general relativity, and then we make some approximations and we do some stuff about approximations about size and all that stuff, and we can take a
Hmm.
step back and it's like Newtonian physics and classical physics. So it's really interesting, like the thing that you learn when you first start studying physics, classical physics, everyone is like, oh, I really want to get to like general relativity. I really want to get to like quantum mechanics. They're so interesting, which they are. But it's so funny
Yeah.
because both of those approximate to classical physics, but we
Yeah.
can't get them to like work with each other. They both
Right.
approximate to the same thing. And it's just so cool, I think. Like classical
Totally
physics
agree.
is an approximation of two completely different theories that don't agree with each other. And it's just, I
Hmm.
find that amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you want to get into one more conspiracy theory before I get into my favorite, or do you just want to get into the favorite?
I want to hear the favorite because these other ones have been crazy.
So, you just want to go straight to the favorite?
I thought the first one was your favorite. That one was a good
No,
one.
no. I thought it was, but then I thought of another one that I actually liked. And it
Okay.
got disproved already. So, it was like perfect.
Oh, nice. Okay.
All right. So,
Let's
you
do it.
ready? And I'm going to say 100% you know this.
What is it?
All right. So, December 21st, 2012.
December 21st. Okay.
You already know.
Everyone knows this one.
The conspiracy theory that the world was going to end on December 21st, 2012, because the Mayan calendar had ended on that particular date. If you do the math and do the calculations between the Mayan calendar and the Gregorian calendar that we have,
Yep.
that establishes our Western civilization's like time frame. Put those two together, do the math out, and it says that the calendar is going to end on December 21st, 2012. And of course, the day came, and everybody's like, "We're ready for this. We're ready for 2012. We've watched the movie. We're prepared." And nothing happened.
Yeah.
No computer crashes, or power loss, or meteors, or anything from the movie. Nothing happened.
Knock on wood. Why is this one your favorite?
My favorite because there was a lot of hype in my school. There's a
I,
lot of hype on TV. There was a lot of questions being asked to scientists and
mhm.
all the like. Um, on the internet, it was just blowing up and everything. Um, and it just is so funny to me because it's like something that all of us know about, all of us think about, and like we kind of all experienced it. Because we always like, and especially since like we were like, you were in, I think, high school, right? When this happened?
I think it was
You were
middle
in ninth
school.
grade.
I think it was eighth grade.
Well, I was in middle school. I was in eighth grade. I remember
Oh,
that
you were in eighth
distinctly.
grade, so then I must have been in high school.
That's what I was thinking.
Wait, so this was 2012. I graduated in 2016. Yeah, so it would have been.
Yes, your first year in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was my first time in middle school.
No, sophomore.
Well, not my first year in middle school. It was my time in middle school that this happened, and all of us were like very excited for the world to end. I mean, the movie came out literally in 2009, like at the beginning of middle school. So by the time the end of it happened,
You were excited for?
yes, I was excited to see what would happen. I want to see the people freak out and see what happens.
uh,
I wasn't gonna think it was gonna happen, and of course, like I didn't think at the time that it was gonna happen. And obviously we just all went about our day and nothing happened. So like,
yeah.
but it's funny because like we had talked a little bit about like the History Channel not being the History Channel anymore.
Mhm.
They had like specials about like Nostradamus predicting 2012 was gonna happen and his writings and stuff. And then they had like I think a 2 hour long special about the 2012 end of the world prediction that obviously like never came to fruition. So
Interesting. I bet
yeah.
they got a lot of ratings from it though.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, people were that's the thing that was such a mass cultural thing, especially with the movie too. And I think the
Yeah.
movie kind of oversold it a lot. And I want to talk a little bit about something about the movie
I haven't seen it.
because I watched it during the pandemic, right?
Okay.
I watched it on Netflix for the first time in like a couple of years.
Mhm.
And since I'm like more engaged in science and physics, I'm like, okay, I have an understanding about this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything about the plot of it, Billy?
I mean, I mean, excuse me. The plot is just the conspiracy theory, right? Because I haven't seen it, so I don't. It's for
Oh,
the
you
most part.
haven't
I think
seen it.
I haven't seen it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Let me
It wasn't as
explain.
big in, at least for me, the whole conspiracy theory. At least with my
Yeah.
group of friends. I mean, I wasn't necessarily that social, so it could have just been me. But
Hmm.
it wasn't that big for at least me at that time. Like I hadn't really talked to anyone about it
Yeah.
at all. I heard it on the news a couple times, but for the most part, I didn't realize it was that big of a deal.
Hmm.
Okay, so
So,
educate me on this movie.
well, the movie obviously it's gonna be fake because it's gonna be fantastical, destruction at the end of the world and stuff. Something that I feel like you should see probably. Um, but the whole plot of the movie, and actually the plot of our movie of us in society, what we believe was going to happen on December 21st, 2012,
Hmm.
was that there was going to be an alignment of the galactic center, our sun, and all 8 planets in the solar system. And
Oh,
that huge amount of mass was going to cause some thing to happen that will have an effect on the Earth that will cause 2012 to happen. And in the
I see.
movie, what happened was that the sun was going to have extra solar energy and solar activity that was going to happen through solar flares and coronal mass ejections, basically huge explosions bursting out from the sun,
Mhm.
basically. And they would come to Earth, and what would happen, and this is the key part here, is that the neutrinos coming from the sun would interact with the matter inside the Earth's core, which would cause the crust displacement of like the continents, and they would shift and move and make the continents like the tectonic plates would like move on the Earth because of the core being heated up because of the interaction with the neutrinos. And of course, they even talk about in the movie that like the scientist guy who had played Mordo in Doctor Strange.
I haven't seen a lot of Doctor Strange either. I know. What kind of
Okay,
nerd
well
am
he
I?
played Mordo. He played Mordo in Doctor Strange, and he was the lead scientist. He was the lead role in this movie, and he was like, neutrinos interacting with matter, that's impossible. And I was like, yes, it's impossible, it's literally impossible. I can verify that right now. It's literally like 5 minutes into the movie they had talked about this plot point. I'm like, all right, I'm not out, I'm out. I can't do this because it's like it's defying the laws of physics again, those pesky laws of physics. Like break down that one law and it definitely happens.
Yeah, I mean, I could have gone like, I mean, once you mentioned the neutrinos, I was like, that's the way you chose it. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I mean it's good because it sounds sciencey, and for non-science
Mm-hmm.
people, I mean, even you, who was a science person in middle school, didn't pick up
Mm-hmm.
on it just because you didn't learn about it. And so,
Right.
like, everyday people won't realize this, but like, neutrinos do not interact very strongly with normal matter.
Yeah.
And we're people are trying really, really, really. Scientists are designing like millions and millions and millions of dollars of technology and
Mm-hmm.
equipment to be able to actually detect neutrinos and like
Yep.
actually have mass interact with them at some level because they just don't really. And they're
Mm-hmm.
trying so hard to actually force it to happen inside
Yep.
this detector. So,
Yep.
and I mean, they're coming every day. I mean, right now
There are
too.
like
You
millions
watching
of
this
them going
video,
through your body right now.
yeah, you watching this video, they're going, they're hitting you.
Hmm.
So
But you just can't feel them because they don't interact with matter.
yeah, it's like dark matter kind of. There's actually a lot of theories that neutrinos are dark matter, or I'm not sure
Yeah,
there's a lot, but there's at least one.
they are a form of dark matter because dark matter obviously like interacts with like the large scale of the galaxy holding its form together.
Yeah.
Whereas neutrinos are just like products of, interactions inside the sun, large energetic reactions in the sun. So
Mhm. And neutrinos, I think there's a theory. I'm not sure if this is proven or not, but neutrinos are like their own antiparticle, which is kind of cool. Which is
I think
another
so.
thing. Yeah,
I
so that's
think
really
that's a
interesting.
yeah. I don't know if there's an anti-neutrino or not. I don't know.
I think in like equations, an antineutrino pops out because like you can have two forms of like a reaction,
Right.
but like I'm pretty sure they're identical. I mean, like
Mm,
actually identical. Like,
yeah. So the
I,
anti is the actual thing.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's proven or not.
Yeah.
I don't do
I'm
research
not
into nuclear physics, so.
Yeah. I am not an expert in standard model physics. I am an expert in astrophysics, so I can be able to give you as much as I can on that.
I'm Billy. I'm not gonna say I'm an expert because there's so much out there,
Yes.
right? So,
Hmm. So,
that's that's an interesting one. Yeah, I didn't realize that was the plot of the movie. That's interesting.
yep, you got to watch 2012 by Roland Emmerich.
There's a
Came
lot
out
of
in
things I need to
2009.
watch. There's so many things I need to watch.
I know.
Ooh,
There's a
well,
list.
actually, while we have this up, I'm gonna say this, and you can cut this part out.
Okay.
um, so the next couple of weeks, there's gonna be like a month or two break in between now and the next Marvel TV show to come out, which will be Loki, which is gonna be really
Mhm.
cool. And by the time people are watching this now, Falcon and Winter Soldier or Captain America and Winter Soldier, spoiler alert, is over. So we have some time where we could talk about random things. So we could do more conspiracy theories. We could talk
Mm.
about some physics. Ooh.
Actual science.
Yeah, but we'll make it fun. We'll talk about fun stuff. It's not going to be like how do you calculate a ball accelerating down a ramp unless someone needs help with that because of like class or something, which I guess we could do a short on.
This is gonna be an educational channel.
Yeah, or we can do interpretations to quantum mechanics, which requires almost no math whatsoever. Just like we'll talk about a few thought experiments in quantum mechanics, and then we'll talk about how people interpret them. That one's a
Yeah,
really
because
fun
this
one.
is a huge debate between Billy and I because I believe in one thing and he believes in another thing.
It's like the physicist version of which football team is better.
Okay,
I guess. I don't know.
sure.
Um, or we could,
Like, which franchise is better, Star Wars or Star Trek, or Marvel or DC? You know.
yeah, like that exactly. But there's clear winners in those categories.
So there's a clear winner in this one too. Mine.
Fine. We'll let the audience decide. But we could talk.
Yes.
Okay, we're probably going to talk about that, so don't even bother about voting for that. But I'm a huge Rocky fan, so Rob is going to watch the Rocky movies because he hasn't seen them, and he's a
Yes.
big Star Trek fan, and I've never seen Star Trek, so I was going to watch those, at least the original ones, and
Hmm.
then we could do a video on our take on those. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
different things we could talk about. If anyone has any recommendations or wants to see one of those before another, then let us know down in the comments if you don't mind.
Hmm. Anything else? Any final thoughts of conspiracy theories? You still
No,
don't have your favorite, obviously, but
yeah. I mean, I don't have too many ones that. Well, I have no. My favorite one is that fly one or the bug one, where bugs are ancient alien spy devices. That's my favorite. I don't think you're gonna
one
be able
I've
to.
never heard of before. I gotta look it up now.
It's so funny. Um, Yeah, if anyone out there has any other conspiracy theories that we didn't cover, I'm sure there's a ton we didn't cover. If you have any favorite ones out there, you should let us know. I'm sure Rob's probably
But
heard
we're
of
not
it,
going to
but
be advocating on your behalf about trying to prove that you're right. So just
maybe we'll
ones
give
that
you,
make you laugh.
yeah, maybe we'll give you our opinions on them in the comments because I'm
Mm.
sure we won't get that many, so we'll probably be able to respond to each one of you guys.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Well, with that said, do you have any last words?
Nah, I think this was pretty cut and dry.
It was fun. This one, we
Yeah.
went on a lot of different tangents. Well, with that said, I hope everyone watching this, if you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it and you made it this far, I don't know why you're here, right? Unless you skip to the end
True.
to watch the bloopers. I mean, because this is at the end, right? So,
Yeah,
but that means you know us. So you've at least made it to the end of another one. Or you're
true.
related to me. Because I've told everyone I know that
And
there's
doing
bloopers
it out
at
of
the end.
pity.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, so I hope to see you guys later in this week with another one of
Mhm.
our videos where we wrap up the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show or Disney Plus show. So take care, everyone.